She walked onto the range shaking, hands trembling, eyes calm. No uniform, no name. The elite soldiers laughed. Placed bets called her broken, but when she pulled the trigger, everything stopped. No sound, no recoil, just silence. And a candle's flame 2 miles away vanishing like it was never there. In that moment they realized they weren't watching a mistake. They were witnessing a ghost. $2,000 said she'd missed the shot. That's all it took, one casual bet from a cocky sergeant. 6 seconds later, no one was laughing. She had arrived alone at Ravenfall Range, tucked deep into the cracked Nevada desert, where heat shimmered like ghosts on the horizon. No rank badge, no introduction, just a long wooden rifle case and hands that wouldn't stop trembling. The elite soldiers of Ghost Tier 9 watched her like she'd wandered off a college campus. Civilian boots, button-down shirt, rubber band in her hair. Wrong place, wrong woman. They didn't ask her name. Boone, the loudest among them, cracked a joke about medevac. She signed in with her left hand, ink blotching from the tremor. Then she walked to the last bench, alone. When she opened the case, the silence shifted. The rifle wasn't standard. Custom-built, sleek, with a device humming beneath it like something alive. Metal curves, glowing nodes, surgical wires. One whispered, "That's not military." She ignored them all. The test was simple. A candle placed 2,720 meters away. One shot. No splash, no mess. Just the flame gone. She lay prone, exhaled slowly. The first bullet fired. It missed. Badly. The laughter returned. Boone scoffed. But she hadn't moved. That miss wasn't failure. It was calibration. Her name was Rain Marlo, but nobody there knew that not yet. She didn't flinch as they laughed. She didn't explain. She reached forward, unhooking the device mounted beneath the rifle, detaching it wire by wire, like removing a pulse from a machine. The laughter died. The soldiers weren't sure why, but the silence changed. Ava Dorn stepped closer and saw something beneath Rain's sleeve. An insignia. Not ink. Not scar. A brand. Geometric. Precise. She'd seen it once buried deep in a redacted file labeled Spectre Protocol. Before she could speak, Colonel Castle checked his tablet. One name flashed green. Lieutenant Colonel Marlo. The air shifted. Boone straightened. No more jokes. Rain stood without apology. Castle's eyes tracked beyond her, to the candle. Still upright. Wax untouched. But the flame? Gone. She packed up her rifle. Walked past them. Nobody spoke. Nobody dared. They didn't know the story. Not what happened in Carrot. 3 years ago, a hidden lab, chemical exposure, burned lungs, nerve damage. She wasn't supposed to survive. Definitely not shoot again. But she hadn't come back with pity. She came back with Neurosync V3, a stabilization rig that mapped her tremors and neutralized them in real time. No one accepted her designs. Every unit rejected her. Except Ravenfall. They let her through. Because they didn't know who she was. This wasn't about proving anyone wrong. Rain didn't return for revenge. She came back for clarity, for control. And maybe to aim again. As the sun clawed higher, she reached into her pouch and pulled a short fiber cable. Clicked it into a port above the rifle's trigger guard. The module pulsed like it was alive, syncing with her breath. Ava noticed something strange. The tremors hadn't stopped, but they were moving to a rhythm, measured, controlled. She wasn't fighting them. She was using them. The second shot fired. It was close. So close Boone lowered his binoculars with a muttered curse. She corrected mid-wind. Ava whispered, Castle took 2 steps forward. No orders. Just interest. Rain didn't look around. She just loaded one last round. No adjustments. Just stillness. A sudden gust of wind swept across the ridge, peeling sand off the surface like skin. She waited. Then one breath. One fire. The suppressor whispered. Silence followed. Then the flame gone. Not flickered. Not dimmed. Vanished. The candle stood upright, wax unmelted. But the fire had been erased like a whisper lost to wind. No one clapped. No one spoke. Boone's $2,000 bill fell from his hand. Ava's gaze dropped to Rain's sleeve, where the insignia of Spectre tear burned beneath her skin. Castle stepped forward, his voice now firm. Name. Your real one. Rain didn't hesitate. She unlatched the core module, packed her gear with careful precision, and said just 6 words. Lieutenant Colonel Rain Marlo, Spectre Tier. Retired. The range didn't just fall silent. It recalibrated around her. The woman they dismissed now stood like a ghost returned, only sharper, quieter, and far more dangerous. Castle turned to the group. This is Colonel Rain Marlo, Tier Black. 40 confirmed kills over 2,000 meters. Phantom Valor recipient. Presumed Kia, Carrot, 3 years ago. The final word hit like a rifle crack. Boone stared at the dirt. Ava didn't blink. She remembered that name. So did the junior techs now standing straighter than before. They had mocked someone who once held battlefields together from rooftops half a world away. No one needed to ask questions. Her record spoke for itself. 3 days later, Ravenfall Range went dark. Black flag lockdown. No press. No briefings. Just action. And at the front of the next classified mission stood Rain Marlo, no longer hidden in shame but leading the same team that once laughed at her. Because something darker had resurfaced. The man who nearly destroyed her body, Dr. Sadek, was active again. Only this time she wasn't alone. In the debriefing chamber, screens flickered with grainy images. A man in desert robes flanked by guards. This is Dr. Sadek, Rain said, her voice flat but clear. He designed the chemical agent that broke me. Behind her, Castle remained stone-faced. The mission was clear. Infiltrate a suspected lab on the edge of the Argessa Desert, capture Sadek, and recover all biological materials. They went in under blackout. Boone led entry. Ava handled recon. All comms looped through Rain in a command bunker 60 miles away. Her voice guided the team like she was still on the line. Measured, precise, unwavering. But when they reached the lab, something felt wrong. No guards. No alarms. Just a warm laptop and a suspended vial. That's not the lab, Rain whispered. It's bait. Get out. But it was too late. Visors blinked red. Sensors screamed. Airborne agent detected. Ava's voice cracked. My mouth tastes like metal. Boone dropped to one knee. Castle's grip loosened on his rifle. Rain triggered emergency scrubbers and suit filters, but her gut said what the data didn't. This was a new variant. More direct. More cruel. Then came the feed. Another shack, off-grid, suddenly lit. Inside, Sadek, unmasked, watching them. You've been breathing it for 7 minutes, he said. Fascinating, isn't it? The toxin was worse than before. This one didn't wait to attack the lungs. It burrowed through the skin straight to the brain. Castle dropped his rifle. Ava staggered. Boone's hands trembled just like hers had years ago. Evac now, Rain barked, snapping out of protocol. Drones launched. As they lifted the team from the collapsing site, Rain's eyes stayed on Boone's vitals. The shaking, the grip failure. The same symptoms she once lived through. Back at Ravenfall, medics scrambled in full bio-isolation. No cure, only containment, but Rain didn't rest. Didn't blink. She dismantled the Neurosync V3 and began rebuilding it by hand. One wire, one algorithm at a time. Will it work? Someone asked. She didn't look up. It has to. 2 days later, Boone was first. Still trembling, still breath-tight, but the system adapted. He fired. Bullseye. Then Ava. Then Castle. Each one controlled the uncontrollable. Rain watched silently as her worst nightmare became their shared burden and their shared weapon. The tremors weren't a weakness anymore. They were the cost of surviving. The proof they still could. That evening, Castle handed Rain an envelope, Pentagon seal, Red Class orders. They want you to lead adaptive combat integration, he said. Your own unit. She held it without blinking. I'll do it, she replied. But they come with me, as instructors, not test subjects. He nodded. Approval was unanimous. 3 weeks later, Pentagon observers lined Ravenfall Range. No one mocked Boone when he grouped 3 shots at 900 meters. No one laughed when Ava hit a moving drone at 1,000. But when Castle, his tremor the worst, drilled a dime-sized target at 2,000, the observers stood in stunned silence. Approval, not applause, followed. They weren't just training anymore, they were proving what no doctor, no commander, no system ever believed. That broken soldiers could be rebuilt not just physically but tactically. Rain didn't give speeches. She didn't seek headlines. Her victories were quieter, sharper, like the shot that extinguished that first candle. And every time one of them pulled the trigger, they weren't aiming for glory. They were fighting to belong again. The next morning, Rain stood at the range alone. Boone approached, holding a worn photo, 2 soldiers, one with Boone's eyes. My brother Dean, he said. Force Recon. Started shaking after Kandahar. They pulled him. Said he was done. 11 months later, he was gone. Rain looked at the photo, then the sky. It's too late for him, Boone added. But not for the next guy. Not if we make this real. She nodded once. Quiet. Later that day, the team gathered at the memorial wall. Granite, cold, carved with the names of those considered lost. Boone stepped forward, placed the photo at the base. Didn't speak. Didn't need to. Rain stood beside him, hand resting on stone. This wall used to mean finished, Boone whispered. Not anymore. As they turned to leave, Rain paused. Out on the horizon, exactly 2,720 meters away, someone had placed another candle. Not for training, not for show, just a reminder. Rain stared at it, then whispered, We don't need steady hands, just the will to aim again. And no one disagreed. They thought the story ended when her nerves failed. When the mission in Carrot left her burned, broken, and forgotten. But she came back not to fight for rank or revenge, but to prove a quiet truth, that the most dangerous soldiers are the ones who have nothing left to prove. She didn't just earn their respect. She rewired the future of combat. And every time they step up to the line now, they don't ask if their hands will hold steady. They ask if their will is strong enough to follow hers.